All right, so today we're going to be learning chapter 7, which is customizing your QuickBooks. So, yes, we're going out of order, but I feel that it is very necessary that you know how to customize or at least understand the ins and outs of personal preference versus company preferences and how that affects the working data file. But at the same time, we're going to be learning a very, very important component that you need to have in order for you to complete chapter 2 and chapter 4 and pretty much everything. You need this section first before you can cover up the rest of the stuff because we're going to talk about the importance of having items. So, but first off, let's go ahead and begin with just understanding how to customize QuickBooks. So again, it says right here, every single chapter at the very beginning of the book, after you're under the topics, it will tell you exactly which file to open. So in this case, it tells you here that to restore this portable file, you're going to do customizing 18. All right. Now, of course, they made a lot of typos in here because you're opening or restoring a portable file. So, they have a lot of typos in here. But you can understand that it's pretty straightforward. We want customizing 18, and that's what you're going to be utilizing for this chapter only. So again, every chapter will tell you exactly which file to open. All right. So again, so here we're going to talk about QuickBooks preferences. So we kind of briefly went over some preferences, right? We talked about how, there's certain things that you can have when it comes to QuickBooks, such as do you sell sales tax or do you charge sales tax? That's actually going to be a preference, okay, to have the inventory section up here. That's a preference. Do you want to have the statements appear on your homepage? That's a preference. So when we talk about preferences and setting up your QuickBooks, they kind of go hand in hand. You have to set preferences so then when you conduct and start placing your transactions in QuickBooks, it makes it a lot more easier for you to access things, and it makes it a lot more easier to be able to view things as well. So a few standard preferences that I'm going to show you today. Okay, so the thing that you need to know is there are two types of preferences. So we got to take a look at this briefly yesterday. I don't know if you remember, but when you go to the edit menu bar, right, and we go to preferences, on the right side at the very top section, you have two tabs that you can choose from. You have My Preferences, and then you have Company Preferences. Those are the two types of preferences that you can have under QuickBooks. So in this case, we refer My Preferences as user preferences because it's going to be based on how you like it, because if you're the one that's going to be accessing this file at this particular desktop, you want to set it the way that makes it visually appealing for you, okay? So that's one difference between the user preferences and the company preferences. The company preferences is a preference that's set amongst all users, meaning it's a preference that encodes it through every single person's computer. So, for example, this one, if you're going to set a company preference site, for example, you want accrual basis or cash basis. That's definitely something you have to place on a company file so it's universal through every single person who has access to the files. Okay, so it's a global change. Okay, so that's called company preferences. So this one is when you want to make a decision that you want to apply to every single person who has access to this file. Whereas a user preferences is more for what you want on your end. Okay, now I'm gonna show you a few examples of a user preferences, such as setting color schemes and setting the way QuickBooks looks for you. So the biggest one is actually you're gonna. I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but honestly, the user preferences are very limited to what you can do. And I'm going to show you how and show you what those preferences are. So if I were to go to my edit menu bar, right, and I go to preferences, the first thing it's going to ask you is what category are you going to select? In this case, since I want to set my personal settings to how I want my screen to show me things, I'm going to go ahead and go to desktop view. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in my preferences tab. Okay, so once you're in here, here are a few things that you can do. You have the choice to either show one window at a time or have multiple windows at a time. Now, what does this mean? So when I talk about windows, right? So every single, as you can see, I have my preferences window open. I have my home page window open because right now I'm at multi-window viewing. If I were to go ahead and select one window at a time, check this out. So that means I can only have my home page up at one time. I can only have my enter bills window at one time. And what this does, it just maximizes it automatically for you. However, I can't pull down my bill to go to my home page because I would have to actually go back to my little icon here and actually select the home page to view that window again. So this can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. It's a personal preference because if you are the kind that is you're focused on one item at a time, then that would work best for you. But if you're a multitasker or you just have trouble memorizing in general, like for example, if I were to enter a bill, right? And I click that enter bills window and I'm like, what date am I on? I have to go pull up the calendar. Or what date is this bill for? You know, I have to look up other information in order to pull it in. Or, oh wait, I don't need to do a bill. I need to do an invoice. So how do I get there? I have to go back to my home page for me to go ahead and click in, oh, I need to put an invoice instead. So you're only allowed to have one window at one given time. And again, this is only if it makes it easier for you and you're focused on one item at a time. Now, if you're like me who loves to multitask or just not have a very good memory, you know, I'd like to see as many windows as possible at one time. So I'm going to go back to my preferences and I'm going to change that because I prefer to use multi-windows, okay? So then if I do that and I change my setting there, now, boom, I can have my invoice right here. I can have my home page right here. I can enter in a bill right here. I think this is my one of my registers here. I can have it readily available. The only thing that you have to do is you have to know that your windows are shrunken, right? You're going to have to double tap on the actual window itself to fully show you everything that there is. Just like how we were looking at it yesterday, right? You told me you couldn't see the full chart of accounts. You couldn't see the tabs at the bottom. It's because the assumption is since you have it on multi-window view, you're going to have to double click on the window to expand it to show everything that you want to see on the window. Okay, and of course you have the same three little things here. You can minimize it, you can shrink it up, and if when you minimize it, it's actually down here. It's down at the very bottom, just like regular Microsoft, right, or regular Windows. It's still there. It's just down below here. And of course, you can always exit out of them too. So that's just the difference, right? Like I said, it's personal preference whether you prefer to work at one page at a time or you rather look at multiple things at one time. That's my personal preference. I prefer to use multiple windows. Okay. So now going back to my display here under my preferences, the next section that you can do is, for example, on your home page, you're going to notice that excuse me, let's go back to this. So here on the desktop, right, there's options I can utilize, especially if I am at my local office, at my desk, my office desk, right? So if your desk is the only desk or you're the only one that has access to that computer, then these settings will definitely help you for that reason. Because you can choose to either save when closing the company file. So that's a good one, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And another one is also you want to save the current desktop. Okay, so what that means is every time you close out your window. So right now I'm in my I have my bill and my invoices are open, right? If I were to select save current desktop, that means the next time I open this exact QuickBooks file, it's going to pick up from where I left off. It's going to pull up the bill and pull up the invoice. Okay, so that one is not going to be like you're closing everything, right? This is where you when you every time you close your QuickBooks and you open it again, it's going to leave off of where you left off when you closed it. So that's the difference between closing it generally, and then the second one is obviously closing with the intention that when you come back into the office the next morning, you're right and ready to go ahead and continue where you left off. Okay. Now, if your computer is being used by multiple people, right? You have multiple shifts, then you definitely want to choose don't save the window, because especially when your position, right? If you're an HR position, you definitely don't want someone to have to open up QuickBooks and the first thing they see is payroll when they're inventory. No, because then that has extra energy for them to have to close out all the windows. Then they might accidentally type in, oh, I worked X amount of extra hours, right? You definitely don't want to you want to avoid that at all times. So again, this is a preference based on who is actually using the desktop at the office. Is it just solemnly you? Then yes, you would want to select one of these options that you want to either save and close out everything, or do you want to save where you left off from? Okay. But if there's multiple people that uses that computer, you definitely don't want to save anything. All right. Now this isn't in terms of saving the transaction, because we talked about this. It automatically saves it for you. This is just for instance, are you gonna have windows open when you close out? That's what the saving means. Okay. So it's no matter where you're at in your position, as long as you have the internet, your file and every transaction is going to save. All right. Other things too is every time you open up your QuickBooks, would you like to have the home page appear first? Mine is selected because yes, that is like a very, very, very good bonus that I like about QuickBooks is yes, I would love to see the home page pop up first. Okay. The only thing that you can't avoid is any obviously promotional advertisements that pop up. You can't avoid that. Unfortunately, it is what it is because they're trying to sell you stuff. So you have to manually close that yourself, and also include the new features as well. It's a little annoying, but at least at the end of the day, once you close that, the first thing that's going to pop up is your home page. All right. And then other ones is going to be switching icons to the light colored one. Now, I'm going to show you this, but this is only useful when we get to customizing the icon bar, okay? So I'll talk about that in a second. So I'm going to skip over that real quick. All right.
Okay.
Now, the next set of things that you can do is you can actually customize the colors of QuickBooks. Well, the next section right below it is display settings and sound settings. Now, this is directly correlated to your actual computer. So let's say, for example, I think my computer is set to be at 125% or something like that, meaning like everything's more magnified. It's a little bigger, okay? I do that for two reasons. One, I don't know how people can see such tiny writing on a computer screen. And to it's also for teaching you guys, because I don't expect you guys to try to squint your eyes to see what this word I'm looking at on a 13-inch screen. So display settings, okay, this is all about what is actually internal on your computer. So it's not per se for QuickBooks. This actually pulls up your actual settings. So if I were to click display, right, it's going to automatically pull up my actual computer settings. Okay. So of course I'm not going to do that. Same thing with sounds, right? If you have your sound on or off, it's going to automatically pull up your actual computer settings. So this is more geared towards for whether, you have trouble seeing QuickBooks, then use the display settings to make the program look bigger, whatever you need to do. If you don't like the sounds, turn it off, right? Pretty straightforward. And then now the second one is the last to least, but is going to be changing the color scheme. Now, behold this. You're going to find this to be the most amazing thing ever. So let's say I actually want to pick a color because I like not seeing navy blue all the time. I want to choose, let's do something fun. Let's do pink, okay? Let's say I want to choose pink. That's it. That's all you can do.
Oh, so this is for changing your tab, not your tab color, but telling you where you're at. Yeah, that's really
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I said it's the most amazing feature here. Everything else is standard. Your icon colors are the same. See, as you see here, my tabs that when I click here, it's still green. That doesn't change. The only thing that you see a difference here is that it's just the title is changed. I mean, as a personal preference, I actually think that's the worst setting you can do. And they say this is a personal preference. Honestly, a personal preference would be I would want to change the whole outlook of QuickBooks. I wanted to make it look, instead of having colors, I want it black and white. What if I want it monochrome color? What if I just want white background with black borders on them? I want something like that. I want it like a regular whatchamacallit, back in the old days computer screens when it was only 2D, things like that.
Yeah, green and orange. No, you don't want that.
No, okay, not that one. But what I mean is how they have the ones where it's just black and white, like that. When color didn't exist, I'd like something like that. It might be, it might be boring to me, but again, that is considered to me a personal preference that I would enjoy. But in this case, they don't. Or if you know your phone, right? You have a light mode and a dark mode, right? You have a light mode showing you bright colors on a white background, or you have dark mode where it's all the fonts are white and the background is black. That is something interesting that I would want QuickBooks to do as a personal preference. But you know what? That's all you can do for changing the color scheme. It's not that much of a difference, and I'm only showing you because you can do it. But honestly, it's useless.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, it's not worth your time. So, but I'm just gonna go ahead and choose. I think I had what did I have? I think I had purple. I was on default, yes, but I in my personal preference, I'm gonna go ahead and choose this purple blue. Okay, it's not that much difference, but I'm gonna go ahead and save that. All right, and that's it for personal preferences. You don't have much. Even if you were to save it, if you click on every single one, okay, yes, I want to save it. Even if you click on every single one, right here, it gives you an error saying there are no preferences that you can choose for personal. Same thing for the second one. Second one, you do have some. Third one, you do have some. Fourth one, you do have some. Fifth one, you have only, you don't have anything here. So again, honestly, it's a pick and choose kind of game here. Okay, you can't have everything. So, but that's the one I wanted to show you because that one's just most likely that you would make a personal change to your personal outlook of things if that's how you want to look at it. But that's it. That's the only thing that you can make a personal preference for is to change just the title bar and change how you see each window. And that's pretty much it. So again, personal preferences, there's not that much for. However, company, as far as company is a mass one that you can do. So I think for this example, if I were to go ahead and go over to the company section, they give you a little more that you can do, but just know that if you do make a change, whether it's personal or for the company, make sure that the people who work under you that are sharing this file are okay with it. But of course, if it's like whether to do accrual versus cash basis, obviously that's an executive decision, right? But if you say I'm gonna apply pink to everybody's work everybody's users, so then when they come in and they open up the file, it's all pink. I mean, again, you could set that as a company preferences because maybe your company logo is integrated with the company's colors are pink and white. You know, what if I was the nonprofit, was it breast cancer awareness, right? My colors are pink and white. So then that could be something that you can apply for a company preferences. Okay. That's like I said, again, I wouldn't figure why you would need that except for just the multi-window use. But by default, it automatically set that up for you. Okay. So, all right. So again, company preferences are more for things that you want to have throughout the whole entire thing. So next thing I'm going to talk about is going to be talking about how to customize your preferences, or in this case, I'm going to customize my home page. Okay, so as we talked about this before, right? So I'm not in the correct section, but it's the section right after this. When we talk about the home page, right? If we go through all of these preferences, it actually makes up your home page. So if you remember briefly yesterday, we got to toggle a few things that were on here. So let's look at my home page carefully, right? I have my nice inventory flow right here. Down in below, I have my statement charges, my enter statements right here. You know, all those things, all those little icons, right? I can actually customize it and say, well, what if I don't need to see all that stuff? Or what if I don't send statements out? You can actually customize that. Again, we're going to go to display and view, but this time we're going to go under company and we're going to select right here. I don't need to have a sales receipt. I don't need to have statements or statements and stuff. And if I go ahead and click OK, right, then it gives you the error message saying, are you sure you want to save these changes? I'm going to click OK. So then watch this. Next time I go to my home page, I'm going to make it full screen. My whole statement section is gone. Did you notice that? I don't have create enter statement charges, or I don't have my statements at all. And I don't even have sales receipts at all. Okay? So that's one way that you can customize the home page, all right? All right, and the same thing, if I wanted to show or display my inventory, go to company and say I don't keep track of inventory. Click OK, click OK, and the next time I show up my home page, my inventory does not exist. Okay, so we talked about customizing the home page. It's based off of the questions that you also were asked through the Easy Step interview. You were asked, do you keep track of inventory? And if you said yes, automatically it builds up your home page. Do you send statements out? Yes, I do. It automatically creates a statement section in your customer's homepage. All right. So that's like as far as how you can customize the home page is by going to your edit preferences under company, or it can also be through the initial interview or the Easy Step interview, right? And that's it as far as customizing your homepage. Okay, not that much that you can do, but you can, like you said, if your homepage is being too cluttered, right? We're looking at an admin view. Okay, but if you are setting up users and passwords and you're limiting access to certain areas, then you're only going to be viewing whatever you have access to. So for example, an HR position, they're only going to see the employee center to pay them, to enter time, and et cetera, et cetera. They're not going to have any other thing on their homepage except for that line of transaction. Okay, so so that's how you customize the homepage. Okay. Okay. So then the next one that in your book talks about customizing the menu bar. Now, do not confuse this, but so it tells you that yes, you can customize your menu bar. So the gray bar at the top. But remember what I've said to you, it's a list of every single transaction that exists in QuickBooks. You can never modify, customize, you cannot change, you cannot delete anything on the menu bar because it is every single transaction that exists that you can do and beyond in QuickBooks. It's everything that you have. You cannot modify it. You cannot change it. You cannot delete it. You can't really customize it. The only option you can customize is your favorites menu, all right? If you don't see your favorites menu, that's okay. Just go to view, and then here you have the options that you want to see your favorites menu. So mine is already checked, and it should be right in between lists and your company, or in this case, you have accountant at the top of the window, or you have both, company and accountant. It's right here. And when I click on it, or when I want to click on it, it says the first thing is I want to customize it, right? So I go ahead and click that, and how you customize it, it's pretty straightforward, right? You basically are creating another list to make it a little more easier for you to navigate or to find your transactions a lot more quickly. Because again, if it's a frequent, let me cancel and show you this. If it's a frequent transaction that you commonly do, such as if you're trying to do something, right? You don't want to have to spend the time to go down to your, let's say, customers, and then, whatever transaction is, or if you go to vendors, right? Then you want to say, I got to go to sales tax. I got to enter this in, right? If it's that much more difficult or time consuming to do that, which I don't think so. I mean, why create a favorites menu when you can essentially just find it on the menu bar? I don't mean to be salty or anything, but that's just how I view it. I'm just thinking, well, what's the point of having a favorites menu bar when essentially you can find every transactions in 5 seconds? Okay, so for example, let's say, what do I frequently use? Maybe I want the chart of accounts to be to be on that list, and I'm going to add it on there. So you select the transaction that you want to have. Notice this. It's in order by the tabs that you have above here. So that makes it a lot more easier, I guess, to locate them, right? Let's say I have my chart of accounts there. What else do I need? Maybe I want my calendar. Okay, I want my calendar to be there. Maybe I want to have, I don't even know right now, but I don't know, whatever, you're going to go through the list and you're going to pick and choose which one. Oh, a to-do list. Maybe that should be on my list of favorites, right? Reminders too. Okay, so anything here, and also I'm trying to look for this one. It's the Ask the Accountant. Let me see where that is. It should be under company, because that's always a good one to have as well, is to be able to ask the accountant at any given time. So here it is, Ask the Accountant. But of course, it's a subscription, so make sure that you have one. And the great thing is, now that everything is there, right, I can also change the order on how I want to view it. Yeah, maybe I want my Ask the Accountant to be the very first thing. So in the middle section here, you have Move Up. So I'm going to have my Ask Accountant first. Then my Chart of Accounts is next, okay? I think I should have my to-do list first, then my list of reminders, and then my calendar. So that's how you can move it. You can even, for example, let's say if I have a to-do list, then a calendar is not going to benefit me. So I can click that remove button. And then if I click OK, now next time I go to my favorites menu, it lists the order of exactly how I wanted it, right? And it makes it that much easier. I can click on it much easier and it will take me to that transaction. But like I said, I don't find favorites menu as useful just because what's the point of having a favorites menu when you can just go one over and you'd be able to find the chart of accounts? Am I right? I have chart of accounts here. I can just, or go back to list, chart of accounts right there. So essentially, I mean, like I said, it's for those who, don't want to look up each tab or something like that, or it's a frequent transaction that they use. So instead of having it have to look for it, it's right there in their favorites menu. So that's pretty much what it's there for. So that's it for customizing the menu bar. You cannot customize it. You can only customize the favorites menu. Okay. All right. So the next section here is going to be talking about customizing the icon bar. This one, I say, is a good one because the icon bar, it's essentially a shortcut to a lot of things. If you don't have your home page readily available, right, of course, you can click on the icon that says home and it will take you straight to your home page. But for most of these things, like on the sidebar here, it is helpful to have a few things. So there's things that you can add in here that's actually really cool. Anywhere on this icon bar, right click it and you can customize it. Okay, anywhere on the icon bar, you click on it and you right click on it and it will say customize anywhere. Other than that, if you don't do it that way, you can go to your view, your view, and you should be able to edit menu bar, icon bar this way. Okay.
Down there where it says customize.
Customize the icon bar. Yes. Okay. So there you go. So view on the menu bar, or you can just right click on the home page. Now, there's a few things I want to show you too in for this, because you can also customize how it appears on your QuickBooks homepage. So what a lot of frequent QuickBooks users don't like about the icon bar is, look at it. It's cutting up my space for me to work on the main screen, right? Okay. It takes a good chunk of the screen, where I can maximize my screen if I had more room or more visibility. So if you go to the view menu, right, you have options. You can either have it at the top of the window, have it on the left side of the window, or you can actually just hide it in general. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me see what happens when I hide it. It's completely gone. I won't be able to access it at all. Okay, because it's completely hidden. All right, but let's say I'm gonna have it left aligned again. That's just one way. The easiest way for me, I would say, I would recommend this. If it's not like this and you want to hide it or you want to clear up some space, use this little arrow button right here. It doesn't hide it, it just collapses it. It just shrinks it up. Okay? And of course, if you need to access it again, you just click that that open button right there, the arrow at the top. So again, that's what I would recommend instead of hiding the icon bar itself. Now, if you don't prefer to use the icon bar at all, then go ahead and use the hide option. And then lastly, I'll go ahead and show you what the top menu bar looks like, or the top view. So here, not only does it put it up here at the very top of your bar, I think this is even more funnier because if you have a shortcut, exactly, if you have the shortcut right here, how hard is it to keep going up to the menu bar to go to the home page? Right? Yeah, exactly. So you have a bill tracker, a calendar, right? Yes, some of these things you have to find, but what essentially does that benefit you with? If you have the shortcut not only down here, but you have it above here too.
There's really no benefit in it.
There is no benefit for it either. So that's why my recommendation is if you want to have more space in your workspace area, so like the homepage area, my best bet for you is if you personally think that is going to be useful, or if anything, you can customize your icon bar to reflect different things instead of having shortcuts to things that you can just go. So for example, right, this is my customer center. How different it is to go up to my customer and hit customer center. Not that much different. That's why if I were to customize my icon bar, it would look a lot. I would make it so then I wouldn't have shortcuts that I can easily find up in the menu bar. Okay?
Right. That makes more sense.
Okay. Now, remember that one thing I told you about that I skipped about in the company preferences? So we're going to visit that real quick. So desktop view, right, under my preferences. So here, if I click switch color icons on the light background, it just changes these now. So I actually prefer this a lot better, just because, you don't see that blue color ribbon or anything. It's actually like on a white background, and you can see that each icon is colored. So, it's a personal preference. Again, it just only makes it look that much nicer. But if you decide to ever go to the left panel, that stays the same. This never changes colors.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I said. There's a lot of holes and a lot of faults that QuickBooks they try to offer you, but it's very minimal. Very minimal on customization at all. So not much you can really truly like unless there's something that you prefer. But in this case, there's not much customization as far as making things look prettier or they make things look easier to the eyes. Not much that you can do there. Okay, so again, now let's go ahead and actually customize this icon bar. So you get the little window here that says you can customize it, and it looks just identical to the favorites menu. Okay, except for this part here. This is the list that currently right now is on my icon bar, right? Home page is at the top. I got my company, then the income tracker, then the bill tracker. So all of this is right here is standard. All right, it's defaulted. If I were to customize it, right, I would have to actually customize it to a point where I have to realize what transactions are necessary that I would like to have as a shortcut. So same thing here. I can go ahead and click the add button, and you're going to get this window where you're going to search every single transaction / shortcut that exists in QuickBooks. And here is the best thing about it. It's in alphabetical order, so it makes it a lot more easier for you to find something. Okay, so the one thing I would actually prefer to have is a calculator. Okay, so calculator. So, and then you can also choose the icon you want for the calculator. I'm going to choose this one. All right. And then once I do that, now it's all the way down at the bottom. You also get to see that little diamond thing from before. Do you remember that? Where you can move them right along. So if I want my icon to be all the way at the top. In this case, I can be able to do that. All right. So first thing I would actually prefer to have is going to be, I think I want this to be, but actually I want my company to go actually before that. Okay. I can also customize how I want to arrange them too. Maybe I want my calendar to come before my income tracker and my bill tracker. And same thing too, you can delete the icons too. So for example, I don't need bank feeds. I'm not connected to the internet, or I don't want to have my bank connected to the internet. So I can just delete that, just like that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK at the bottom and then look at my home page now. So now I have small things. Oh, and actually, I don't like the word calc. I want it to actually read to say calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and click my calc and I'm going to edit it. And at the very top, it says right here, it says calc. No, I want it to say actually calculator. I want it to say calculator in full words. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK. And now it customized it. And here it is. It says calculator. So a lot of things that you can do too is you can misspell. So it's not funny, but it can happen. So yeah. So I have calculator. I have the home page first because that's always my go-to. My company, calculator, calendar, and then my income tracker, bill tracker. And I got rid of the bank feeds. So that's how you customize your icon bar. All right. Any questions there?
No, that's pretty straightforward.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. So that's the last little section that I want to teach you there. That's just as far as part of customization is that section there. All right. So now that you don't have any questions, let me see how we're doing on time. So this section, let me go ahead and do a little lecture on it, and then we'll dive into actually completing an exercise. So it's 2:30 right now, so let's go over the lecture, and then we'll talk about the exercise when we come back from break. Okay?
Okay.
So first things first is we're going to take a look at items. Okay? Now, what is an item? Items are going to be anything that is pertaining to your entire sales process. Okay? So, meaning the items that you sell, the products that you sell, the services that you sell, sales tax, grouping items, creating items, charging additional fees such as delivery fees. It also shows you that you can also tack on additional fees for in case they forget to pay, right? It's all going to be under this section here. Now, items, what essentially it does is it's created so then you can use them in multiple forms. And we'll talk about that when we dive into chapter 4, chapter 8, as well as chapter 2. How important it is to use items, because again, if I'm going to create a product, right, I can use that item for a sales receipt, right, to sell it to my customer, but I can also use it for my purchase orders because I'm purchasing inventory. And then same thing here too, I can also bill other people for that specific item, or invoice them, or another sense, like vendors can bill me for that exact item I purchased. So the items that we create here, they're going to be used in multiple forms. And again, essentially, because we talked about these items, they're all pertaining to your sales. So in other sense, the reason why they created items is for one reason. It's to reduce the clutterness in your chart of accounts. Okay? But here's the catch. In order for you to create an item, you need to set up an account that's associated or related to the item first before you can even create the item. And we'll take a look at when we create our first either service or we create our first product item or inventory part item. Okay. So in your book, it gives you, we're going to talk about the item list and the item types. There are a total of 10 different types of items that exist in your QuickBooks items, okay? You have your service item, pretty straightforward, right? It's when you create your service, all right? Next one's going to be your inventory part. When we get into the inventory chapter, I'll tell you the difference between what an inventory part is versus a non-inventory part, right? It's just based on how often you keep track of it. So for example, it is set by default if you use the inventory part that you're constantly keeping track of it. So again, if it can appear on your sales form, it will also in the background, it will also update your inventory as you sell that item. So it's going to be constantly picking up and updating your inventory. So you always will know how much inventory you have at the end of the day. And the difference between that and the non-inventory part is things that you don't really care to keep track of. QuickBooks will keep track of it for you, but it's not a item that you sell often. Okay, so it's going to be considered a non-inventory part. All right. I skipped inventory assembly. Now, what inventory assembly does is, for example, right? We used Coffee Cafe as an example. We buy coffee. We buy them by the coffee pound, by the grinds, right? We also have sugar and we also have milk or coffee creamer, whatever it is, right? Essentially, what you can use inventory assembly for is you can produce the coffee itself. Okay, so if you're in the restaurant business, right? You're not gonna sell a pound of coffee for every coffee that you make. Of course not. You're going to only have a portion of the coffee grinds to make the coffee cup. Okay, and that's what inventory assembly does is it allows you to take the parts together, add them together to create a product. Okay, so if that doesn't make any sense, think of it as a bakery store, right? You have eggs.
It makes perfect sense. It's going to be handling like you said, your coffee. It's going to handle your creamer and everything. That's all that stuff in there.
Absolutely, yes. And anyways, yeah, think of it as a baker store too, right? They need eggs, milk, sugar, flour. You're not going to expect that one egg is going to be 1 pound of sugar equals to 1 pound of flour equals to 1 pound milk. Of course not. You're going to, it's going to be a part of it, but you're combining all of those parts in there and you're creating the product, okay? Now, don't confuse that with a group item. A group item is not, you're not breaking it down in each item and taking a part of each item. In a group item, you're essentially taking it as a whole quantity. So this is where, let's say, I sell a package, right? I sell a photo package that includes the photo session and it comes with a picture frame. That's going to be something that you're going to be grouped together because you can't break a picture frame in half. Nor can you break a session in half, making sense? So usually that's for when you use for bundle packages that you offer to your customers. Okay, other charges. So again, if you charge shipping and handling fees, that's going to be considered an other charge. Other things in that, you have subtotal items. So again, we'll take a look at this when we actually dive into the customer section. So chapter 2, so next week. Other than that, so you can actually add up the totals. So I'll show you how the forms works when we get there. And then you have, let's see, you have a discount. So if you do have a sales discount going on, whether it's in your store, you can drop that line item in there, right? Create the item in there, and it will automatically calculate whatever discount you want it to be, right? Or if you designate one. You can also do payment options too. So if someone decides to pay you in advance, you can apply that to an invoice, and obviously their invoice would reflect as a lower amount. So this would be like an advanced payment. Okay. And other things that too is sales tax item and a sales tax group, which today I'm going to show you the difference between a sales tax item and a sales tax group. Pretty straightforward, right? You got to charge sales tax, so it's going to be considered an item. Okay. So right now it is 2:31. I'm going to go ahead and let's call the 15-minute break now. So yeah, just so then because if we start a thing here, I want to kind of go through each one. So let's go ahead and call a break, and then when we come back from the break, we're going to do some hands-on work together and actually create these items in QuickBooks. So again, let's call a 15 minutes. So it is 2:30 right now. So let's be back no later than 2:46. I'll give you that extra minute. Okay?
Okay.
All right. See you then.
Okay.